Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today we've got a brand new video type which I've been playing with in my head for a while because people have been asking for this. And if you go back to early in my channel, some of the videos were the wrong side. The picture was inverted. They weren't very professional. When I was getting my feet underneath me. And some people ask me, why don't you rank your This Is Not a Top 10 list? And I always said, no, I didn't want to rank them just because, I just wanted to kind of give you guys a bunch of fragrances from my collection and let you kind of pick. But now that I've put out so much content, I've basically done a video a day for the last 7 months now. I figured maybe it would be a cool idea to go back and rank some of my favorite ingredients. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do a ranked trial run of This Is Not a Top 10 Olibanum / Frankincense. So while everyone else is out there doing their top 10, 20 Father's Day fragrances and all that good stuff, summer lists and all this stuff, we're going to do one of my favorite ingredients, which is Olibanum. I like going my own way. I like flying by the seat of my pants. And, this is what we're going to do today. So we're going to do a trial run and see how you guys feel about it. I have 31 fragrances, give or take. And so this list is going to make up some, if you go and watch my original This Is Not a Top 10 on Olibanum, some of them that were in that list will be here. And then some new additions to the list that I just forgot to show will also be here. And when I rank these, keep in mind, understand, I'm ranking the Olibanum note itself, not the perfume composition as a whole. Okay, so if you want my rankings of perfume compositions as a whole, go to my top 100 video and watch the top 100 countdown. That'll give you a feel of my opinion at that time when I made that list. Obviously, opinions change. Your feelings on fragrances change over time. Nothing is ever static forever. That being said, that was the most true representation I could make, and it took me a long time to make that video. I hope you guys appreciated it. If you haven't watched it, go watch that video. It is long, but it is a top 100 ranking of my personal favorite fragrances. So this will be a countdown all the way to number 1 of my favorite Olibanum fragrances. And remember, just ranking the note of Olibanum in the composition, not the entire composition itself. And so I'm not going to go through the whole introduction to Olibanum like I did on the original video that I did 6 months ago or so. But just as a reminder, Olibanum's been used by humans for thousands and thousands of years. Some people say 10 to 15,000 years back. Humans were using frankincense and Olibanum. And in the original video I pulled out some actual Omani frankincense that my old man brought back from Oman for me. And so I have lots of experience with Olibanum. It's one of my favorite ingredients. I love that lemony smokiness. And if you remember, the actual original word of perfume came from the Latin to smoke. And the old humans used to think that burning incense, and in many churches today this is still the idea, brings the prayers or the thoughts to the higher power, that whoever you believe in. And that is almost universal across many churches. They use incense as kind of a representation of our prayers going up. And so it's a holy ingredient. It's an ingredient that is very important throughout human history. And so let's get started. I'm actually wearing one that has frankincense in it today. And it's one that's been getting a lot of talk because one of my perfume brothers, Eugene, has been talking about this fragrance nonstop lately. He says it's one of his favorite fragrances. He wore it for something like 2 weeks straight. And this is Nikolai's New York Intense. Now, New York Intense, the original New York, by the way, the original New York came out in 1989. And there was a man named Luca Turin, you might have heard of him. He absolutely loved New York, and he also really likes New York Intense. He likes this style of fragrances. This DNA, you know, the fragrances like Bois de Portugal or Invasion Barbar, those are some of his favorite fragrances of all time. And I really like New York Intense. It's probably my favorite Nikolai creation I've ever smelled. It's the only one that I feel is full bottle worthy. I do have another bottle of Patchouli Intense, but I don't like that fragrance. That's one that I would even consider selling. But basically, I'll read you the little blurb on New York Intense. So it says top notes of Petitgrain, Citronnaire, Bergamot, Lemon, Thyme, Artemisia, middle of black pepper, clove, cinnamon, lavender, and chamomile, with a base of oak moss, vanilla, styrax, incense, musk, civet, and castoreum. And what I like about it is it does open up a little bit in the vein of a traditional, elegant, masculine, you know, you get that lavender. It reminds me a little bit of the opening of Chanel's Pour Monsieur. You know, that kind of vibe. The citrusy, you get that Petitgrain, you get the lavender. This has a amped up clove, this peppery clove note that comes to the fore, and this mossy frankincense with some animalic notes in the base. But the animalic notes are not like the animalic notes that you hear me talk about all the time and love. You know, it's not like Coros or Furio or Antaeus or anything like that. This is almost done with, you know, class in mind. It's meant to be very appealing and likable to large portions of the population. So someone's not supposed to smell this on you and get offended. That being said, I really like the dry down because it does have a little bit of that old school Guerlain in the base, a little bit of that vanilla, that styrax, patchouli, you know, almost like she tried to create her own Guerlainade in the base, if you will. And she did a very good job. This is a classy, professional fragrance. Great for the office, great for, you know, dad days out with the family, that kind of thing. And there is a little bit of this incense, smoky, frankincense vibe that you get in the base. So I like it. I'm glad I have a bottle. Would I buy another bottle? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I definitely would not buy another bottle of Patchouli Intense. That was a big letdown for me. So I'm on the back end of fighting this cold, so I'm going to take a second and get a sip of water before we move on to the rest of the list. So we'll say that was the first one on the list, even though it is just scent of the day. Okay, so next, we're going to do, and we're going to go about it, of course, in reverse order. So it's going to be like a countdown. Number one will be at the very end. So first, we're going to start with one of the greatest Oriental fragrances of all time. If you know anything about perfume, you know this fragrance. And this is called Opium. Now, this is a vintage bottle. You can tell by the 80-degree symbol right there. And the built-in sprayer. They then reformulated it. But no matter, I have even bottles into the 90s and early 2000s, and I love them all. The Secret de Parfum is amazing. It's just one of the best Orientals of all time. Jean-Louis Suizac created this. So this is going to be, I guess we'll say number 30, or I didn't actually count how many. So we're not going to do, I'm not going to count down numbers, but you know, eventually by the end we'll get there because I actually don't know how many fragrances I have here. Some mystery. But this basically has this amazing clove, fruity plum mixture in the opening with cinnamon and then the heavy Oriental notes, and you get the frankincense in the base. And sometimes the frankincense really comes through. Sometimes it doesn't. That's why it's here. Is it's not always in my face apparent. Sometimes the other Oriental notes almost like take over. You know, the benzoin, the myrrh, that kind of stuff. Tolu balsam, vanilla, cistus labdanum, but a fantastic fragrance. I absolutely love Opium. And again, if you're a guy, don't let the fact this was created for women put you off. This is one of the best fragrances of all time. Actually, if you go to my top 100, this is in the top 10. So, next on the countdown, we're going to go to a Jacques Fat. And this is a discontinued fragrance, unfortunately. Olivier Guillotin created this fragrance in 1998, and it's called Pour l'Homme. Now, someone told me that one of the early Jeremy fragrance recommendations was this back in the day, which kind of made me chuckle because I don't hear anyone talk about it anymore. So I guess it was one of those, you know, it was a wreck at the time. It kind of got hot for a bit, and then no one cares anymore because no one else talks about it. This is one of these sweet fragrances that I absolutely love because it's done very elegantly and professional. They didn't overdose the sweetness in the 90s like they started to do as the decades rolled by. Some of the sweet fragrances now I just can't take. So even though this has tonka and stuff like that in the base, there's this offset spiciness from the, well, there's spices, there's also lavender, there's raspberry, bergamot, grapefruit, amber, patchouli, tonka, frankincense, and musk in the base. But this reminds me of a designer version of a very expensive niche fragrance that I've mentioned before called Kingdom of Saudi Arabia by Roja. I actually like this just as much. And you can find entire bottles. This is a 125 ml. And I ended up getting this for less than $70, I think. Maybe 70 bucks, something like that. But it's just an absolute high value for money nowadays. You'll smell different. You'll smell unique. I'm a big fan. And so, Jacques Fat Pour l'Homme. Okay, next on the countdown, we're going to go to a Dyptique fragrance, which I talked about recently, probably in the last month or so. I showed this off on my channel. And this is called Eau Duel. And Eau Duel is really a duel, if you will, of two notes, vanilla and incense. And it's almost like they battle to get to the top. Who's going to win, vanilla or incense? It's a duel. Great fragrance. Dyptiques don't make the most exciting fragrances necessarily. They really try and focus on the ingredients. And you know, you can smell that you're smelling a niche fragrance brand, especially on some of these older ones. You'll notice that this is a Fabrice Pellegrin. He did a lot of other fragrances for them as well. And so if you want a niche scent that is very wearable, this has a beautiful bourbon vanilla note with cypriol, pink pepper, calamus, and then I detect some frankincense, even though there's none listed. There's definitely a frankincense/incense note. And, you know, if you take a look at the back, you'll see the artwork for the Taj Mahal, which also could have been, you know, that was also used by Shalimar when they did their creation. And that's a vanilla fragrance. By the way, this list is not exhaustive, like I've said. So if you don't see your favorite incense fragrance on here, please don't get upset. Just due to time constraints, I just have to, you know, limit the amount of fragrances I show. Although this is still going to be this is not a top 10, so it's going to be long. There's going to be a lot of fragrances that we talk about, and now you'll kind of get my feeling as far as a rank goes. And if you guys like this setup, this, you know, if you like this DNA, this blueprint, I will go back and do a countdown on some of my other notes. You know, the leather, the vanilla, stuff like that. Tonka, I'll do a countdown and kind of, you know, rank them. So, next on the list, we are going to go to the first Amouage, the first of many. There's many Amouages on this list, but this is Fate Woman. And Fate Woman and Opium actually have some similar DNA, if you will. So this is almost like a niche version of this. Not that this needed a niche version, but this came out 9 years ago. And Dorothy P.O. is the perfumer. And this is a beautiful fragrance because it takes that oriental DNA and it adds this lovely chili note. this spicy chili, which is very unique. And you still get the high quality florals, the rose, the narcissus, the jasmine, and then there's tons of incense in here. You get incense in the heart and in the base. There's some animalic notes, there's castoreum, there's leather, patchouli, oak moss. Such a beautiful creation. And again, guys, do not be afraid that this is in a woman's bottle. I'm telling you, this is better than the men's version, which I have right somewhere. Where's the men's version? It's right here. So this could have also probably been on the list. There's frankincense in here, but again, I didn't want to show everything. But don't be afraid that it's in a woman's bottle. This is a fantastic oriental fragrance with a beautiful frankincense note. Okay, next on the list, we're going to go to the first Frederic Malle of many Frederic Malles on the list. And we have Monsieur, with the period at the end. Monsieur period. And I really like this fragrance. This was the first fragrance that Additions de Parfums Frederic Malle put out once they got purchased by Estee Lauder. And everyone was kind of wondering, you know, what is he going to do? What are they going to do? Are there going to be differences? And you know, this came out, and some people actually feared that was it. It's the end of Frederic Malle. 2016. And Bruno Jovanovic is the perfumer, and he's a very heavy-handed perfumer. This is a very heavy-handed scent, and it actually needs to be heavy-handed for it to do what it does properly. It has a huge amount of high concentration of patchouli oil in this. Unusually high. Something like 50% of the formula is this fraction, what do they call it? Distilled or fractionated patchouli. I can't remember the words. Again, I'm not a perfumer, but they did some sort of special compounding with the patchouli where you know, they only use a certain portion of the patchouli oil, and they remove certain I guess you could say like materials or certain portions of the patchouli extract that they didn't want to use to give it a unique smell, basically. That's the idea. I'm sure someone who's a perfumer could explain the process better than me, but they use this patchouli, and it's definitely a patchouli fragrance. You can't get away from that. And you're hit with this tangerine note in the opening with rum absolute. So you get this boozy rum with vanilla, patchouli, and then there's this frankincense underneath and suede that really sets this fragrance off. For the winter, this is such a beautiful fragrance. I'm a huge fan of this fragrance in the cold. It really stands out, and the frankincense is absolutely stunning in Monsieur. So next we're going to go to the first decant, and it's a Tom Ford. This is Vert d'Encens. And unfortunately, Vert d'Encens is discontinued, even though it only came out in 2016. Jan Vassner, Antoine Massendu, and Shyamala Massendu worked on it. I guess Antoine and his wife. I guess they're a husband-wife team. But this is a very interesting fragrance because it's like being in almost like being in this like enchanted forest, because you get all of this interesting forest greenery coming at you. You get this pine resin, fir balsam, lavender, basil, and lemon, bergamot, heliotrope, cardamom, jasmine, and then you get this perfect frankincense note that mixes with the other resinous notes, because I mentioned pine resin. So you get this resinous, enchanted forest smell. It's absolutely stunning because there's tree sap in here. There's boxwood. It is a very resinous experience, almost like you touched a sticky pine tree or something. and it got all over your hands. That kind of vibe. But it's a beautiful incense fragrance. It's a shame that this is discontinued, honestly. This whole line, this whole Vert line that they released in 2016 is done. Now, I'm going to show you a cheapie next. I think this is one of the best value for money incense fragrances that money can buy. It's a Nathalie Lorson, and this fragrance came out also in 2016. And you talk about value for money. I got this 100 ml bottle for like $42. This is Him by Zadig and Voltaire. And this is Him. Such a great fragrance. It's, she basically did to incense here what she did to vetiver here. That's the best way to explain This Is Him to someone who understands fragrance. What she did to vetiver and Encre Noire, making such an affordable but yet high quality vetiver scent, she did the same thing with Zadig and Voltaire, This Is Him. But for incense, if that makes sense. And it's a very simple composition. It's not a complex composition. It's grapefruit, black pepper, vanilla, frankincense, and sandalwood. But it's such a beautiful, wearable incense fragrance. Whenever I want something, if I'm going to the office and I want something that's very wearable, but I want to wear an incense fragrance and I don't want to wear something that is, you know, super expensive or something like that. You just want to wear something that is easy to throw on, but still smells high quality. This is Him. This is a gem, is what it is. And even though people know about it and talk about it, it never caught on. No matter, I could talk about it till I'm blue in the face, it never caught on. And so that's great for people who love it because it keeps it unique. And so This Is Him next on the list. Now we're going to do another decant, and it's another Frederic Malle. And you guys might be surprised that this is here and not higher, but I will tell you again, I'm ranking the incense in the fragrance, not the composition as a whole. As a whole, this composition would have been in my top 100 had I had a full bottle. I did no decants in my top 100, so this couldn't have made the list, but it's going to be Frederic Malle's Portrait of a Lady. And this is Dominique Ropion, 12 years ago, coming up with this spicy floral blueprint that ended up then taking him to doing The Night, which is, you know, which uses some aspects of Portrait of a Lady. And there's rose, there's clove, there is cinnamon, there is blackcurrant here, patchouli, sandalwood, frankincense. The frankincense is a very important part of this DNA. You know, you get the ambery base, benzoin, musk, and the rose here with the clove and the incense, that wispy incense that just comes through. It's gorgeous. Big fan. Portrait of a Lady. Okay, next we're going to go to a true hidden gem. This one's going to be hard to find. I got this from Amouage at Enchante, and it's called J. Casanova Pour Homme. Now, J. Casanova Pour Homme is an 1981 release, and the parent company was based in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, I believe. And so what this is basically a green frankincense fragrance, okay? So you get some thyme in the opening. It says aquatic notes and floral notes in the opening. I don't get much of that. I don't get much water lily. I don't even get very much osmanthus. I just get this green incense, and it's beautiful. Very well done. Huge hidden gem under the radar. No one's talking about J. Casanova as a brand. It's pretty much a dead brand unless you're a vintage hunter like myself. But this is, if you're into incense, this is one to kind of put on your wish list. if you can get your nose on it, I think you'll be pleasantly pleased. Okay, next we're going to go to a Bertrand Duchefort. Again, the first of many Bertrand Ducheforts. And this is Zonka. Now, Zonka is such a fantastic fragrance. I mean, the genius of Bertrand Duchefort to use so many different layers and different notes with fruits and flowers, and then sticking with that beautiful frankincense with papyrus and leather. I'm a huge fan of his work. I did a Parfumer's portfolio on him. You can go check him out. Go check out his work in one spot if you'd like. There's a playlist on my channel, and Parfumer's portfolio is one of them, and Bertrand Duchefort is on that list. This uses cardamom, lychee blossom, which will come up again in a later fragrance. Peony, which will come up again in a later Bertrand Duchefort. But it's the vetiver and it's the frankincense and the papyrus with that iris that just softens everything up just perfectly. It's a masterful creation. As a composition, could be much higher in the list, but as an incense note, I'm putting it here just because this fragrance to me is so much more. There's so much more going on than just the incense that makes Zonka what it is. But I mean, Bertrand Duchefort is the master of incense, so everything he makes could be on this list. Okay, next, we're going to go to an Amouage. The only Amouage I don't have a cap on, this is a tester bottle that I bought, and I wish I never did, because it doesn't fit the, it doesn't fit my collection. It's the only one that doesn't have a cap, but this is also like being in a green enchanted forest. Absinthe, basil, tarragon, mint, lavender, absolute, rose, frankincense, oak moss, gaiac wood, leather, sandalwood, tobacco, vanilla, and vetiver. And it just feels like you are, you know, in this Dr. Seuss forest is what it feels like. It feels like you're in a Dr. Seuss forest with greenery, and, you know, you get that Amouage frankincense, but everything is just green, you know, and you see the lavender, the trees. It's a beautiful fragrance. Not for beginners, I will tell you that. This is one that will challenge you if you are not into niche fragrances, but Memoir Man is a fantastic Amouage. And then we're going to go back-to-back Amouages because we're going to do Epic Man next. And Epic Man, I absolutely love this fragrance. Nutmeg, cardamom, saffron, cumin, frankincense, myrrh, geranium, leather, oud, patchouli, more frankincense, castoreum. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. It's supposed to seem like you are, you know, it's supposed to represent the Silk Road, if you will. And Rhonda Hamami did a fantastic job. That's the only fragrance I know of from her. So you talk about, if you're going to have a hit, have a real hit. And she knocked it out of the park with Epic Man. Okay, next we're going to do an Antoine Lee. And this fragrance is basically this is a leather fragrance, first and foremost, but Antoine Lee used a lot of synthetics, a lot of, I would say, I think, captive molecules here, because some of these, I don't really understand exactly what it means. Like, for example, the frankincense in here is frankincense Orpur, O-R-P-U-R, and that's restricted. So I'm not sure, you know, and then the patchouli in there is patchouli Orpur. So I'm not sure if that's also like a fractionated process like Monsieur. I might be butchering that. That might not even be the name of it. But I'm not sure if that's like a specific process with the frankincense and patchouli and same thing, vetiver Orpur, or if that's like, you know, just one of the ingredients that Givaudan, IFF, you know, Robert Tet, whoever those brands are, you know, whoever the big oil houses are, if they own that molecule or what. But that's what it shows in the note breakdown with Orris Absolute. And you know, I love leather and Orris. That's probably my favorite combo with leather, to have some Orris or Iris with the leather, and the frankincense and safraline. And safraline is also one of those ingredients as like I guess a saffron replacement. And but I love Rien, huge fan. And this is a new bottle. This is not a vintage. So, and it's a beast. You don't need the intense incense or whatever the other one. There is a Rien intense incense. You don't need that. This is intense enough, trust me. All right, back to Amouage. Again, they are heavily represented on this list. And this Amouage we're going to talk about is called Journeyman. Journeyman is a collaboration between two perfumers, Alberto Morillas and Pia Negrin. And this opens up with this Sichuan pepper, cardamom, neroli, and bergamot with juniper, frankincense, geraniol, tobacco, tonka, cypriol, leather, and ambroxan. Beautiful cypriol note here in the base. Beautiful frankincense and beautiful tobacco. But that Sichuan pepper adds this, you know, it gives it almost the color of the bottle. Which, what a stunning bottle this is, by the way. Fantastic. Amouage is heavily represented here for a reason, and they do incense, they do frankincense, bar none, top notch. Next is going to be a Comme des Garçons. This is a Mark Buxton creation, and this is called Two Man. The Pebble bottle, which I like and I don't like because it doesn't stand. You know, you can't get it to stand in your collection. It just tips over. So you have to just place it somewhere. But this came out in 2004. This is frankincense, smoky notes, saffron blossom, nutmeg, kumquat, curly mint, vetiver, mahogany wood, and leather. And the frankincense, leather, smoke combo is fantastic here. If you've never smelled Two Man, it's very unique. This could easily be a signature scent. People would, you know, associate it with you, you know, no problems, because it's such a unique composition. Speaking of unique compositions, next we are going to do a Gucci, which is also well represented on this list, and it will pop up again. This is one I took some liberty with because there is no frankincense note listed, but I get a frankincense, I get a wisp of incense in this fragrance that I absolutely love. It's called Gucci Envy for Men from 1998. Daniela Andrier is the perfumer. Rosewood, pepper, mandarin orange, coriander, carnation, jasmine, rose, sandalwood, leather, patchouli, vanilla, vetiver, and again, I get an incense from this. Big incense, actually. This one's marketed by Scannon. There are different distributors here, but this is now a unicorn. If you can even find a bottle, just do it. Just buy it. Even if it's a partial, get what you can. I mean, it's a fantastic fragrance. So, Gucci Envy for Men. And then final right side of the screen here, and then we'll go to the left side. Last Bertrand Duchefort here on this side of the table. This is Dia Man. And Dia Man, Bertrand Duchefort uses that beautiful peony note. Peony and iris. This is such an exquisite creation. It stays close to the skin. It's not a shouter. It's not an Amouage that's going to reach out and people will smell you before you come in the room. But it's so elegant because of that. Because it stays kind of close to the skin. You can wear this anywhere. You can wear this to work. You know, you could wear this on a date. You could wear this anywhere that you wanted. It wouldn't offend. And the frankincense with that peony and iris, plum blossom, ylang, but then you're hit with the leather, patchouli, vetiver in the base. Oh, it's so good. I'm a huge fan. I think this is one of the most underrated Amouage. People don't like it because they think it has performance issues. It doesn't. It lasts a long time. It just sits close to the skin. So this is something that, you know, you can really wear and enjoy yourself, on you. This is something you wear for yourself. Okay, next side. We're going to go to the left side here, and we're going to start with the Frederic Malle decant from the Desert Gem collections, and this is a Carlos Benaim creation, and it's called The Dawn, or just Dawn, I'm sorry. Mudasir wrote The Dawn, but I think it's just called Dawn. And this is basically a rose oud frankincense combo. I would never buy a full bottle of this, even though I do like it, because frankincense mostly takes the lead, and I just don't think it is worth the money. I think it's overpriced. However, that being said, if you have $500, $600, $700 to blow on a perfume, and you want one of the best frankincense, you know, don't expect the best oud, because there might be some real oud in here, but it never caught my nose as something, you know, amazing. There's beautiful Turkish Rose and Turkish Rose Absolute in here, and there's beautiful Labdanum in here, but it's basically rose with frankincense, and it's done very well. But for me, I don't think I would buy a full bottle, but I really appreciate what it is. So Dawn is the desert gem from Frederic Malle that focuses the most on frankincense here. Frankincense is the most prominent in Dawn of all of the desert gems. Okay, now we're going to go to a fragrance that is selling for insane amounts of money on eBay. I saw a bottle just go for $1,000. And it's a shame because, you know, these are little 50 ml bottles, but it just goes to show what happens when stuff gets either discontinued or reformulated, or they stop distributing these Serge Lutens in the United States. But this is Filen Agil. And Filen Agil is basically like this spicy, woody, almost like this forest on fire vibe, you know. Like you get this, so Christopher Sheldrake created this, and it just reminds me of this, you know, pine forest in the northwest portion of the United States, that you get stone pine needles, you get laurel, you get spices and fruits and stuff like that, vetiver, but it's the frankincense that really makes this scent, because the frankincense here, almost feels like you're smelling, you know, you're standing in a forest, you touch the pine sap like I talked about on one of the previous fragrances, but your nose is picking up almost like a forest fire in the background. Some of the trees are burning, let's say. But the brilliance of this fragrance, the part that really just shocks me still when I wear it, is somehow Christopher Sheldrake managed to also capture the sky. So there's this freshness involved. So whenever you're smelling this, yes, you get the pine forest. Yes, you get the smoke. Yes, you get the vetiver and all that good stuff, the frankincense. But you also get this blue sky, this freshness. So I have no clue how he managed to contrast. I have no clue how he did that. It's an amazing fragrance. I can totally see why people are spending big money to get it, but don't spend $1,000 on 50 ml. I'm telling you, don't do it. Okay, next we're gonna go to another Amouage, and there's still like 3 more left even after this one. But this is Interlude Man, the Blue Beast, and you can see I've had this for 5-6 years now. And the juice is like right there. You don't need very much when you spray this, you know. This stuff lasts forever. And this is a magnetic cap, by the way. This is not one of the vintage non-magnetic caps. But this is, the reason that it's here and not higher is because this fragrance for me is more about the Apopanax, the patchouli, you know, the resins, the cistus labdanum, that kind of stuff, the amber. The frankincense, the smoke is obviously a big portion of that, and I like the way that the smoke is executed here because it really does feel like you're in a like a bazaar. You're in like a opium tent or something from decades ago. You're in a spiced bazaar hundreds of years ago. Forget decades ago. That kind of vibe. It really does feel like you're smelling, you know, like you're smelling a bazaar in Turkey or something like that from hundreds of years ago. It's beautiful. And you have to like intense fragrances. This stuff lasts forever. You know, it lasts a day plus on your skin. But interlude, man, if you've never smelled the Blue Beast, you have to get your nose on that. It's an experience in and of itself. Okay, next is going to be a long discontinued Gucci, sad to say. This is Gucci Pour Homme 1 from 2003. And Gucci Pour Homme 1 from 2003 is a Michel Almerac creation. And this is, if you can't find this bottle anymore, you don't want to pay the big markups, you can always try and get the cheaper version, which is Bentley for Men Absolute. These two are basically identical in DNA, but for me, there's just something special about Gucci Pour Homme 1. It just, maybe it's because it sat in the bottle all these years. I have no clue. But for me, I much prefer this over the Bentley fragrance. They probably used better ingredients in the Gucci because this was 20 years ago this came out. But there's also something between these two fragrances. These two are very similar to my nose. And, you know, the darker mahogany wood comes through a little bit more here, but the incense comes through a little bit more here for me. And I love the cedar wood in this. I love the cedar, frankincense, vetiver, papyrus. That papyrus and frankincense combo is a fantastic combination. And it's done here to perfection. So that's Gucci Pour Homme 1. And then we're going to talk about a new Amouage that I just, you know, unboxed maybe a month or two ago. I did give it a full wear, and it's called Amouage Gentleman's Cologne. So this is a tester, as you can see, Gentleman's EDT. But in the base of this, there is one of the most beautiful Omani white frankincense I've ever smelled. Ever. It is one of the best frankincense fragrances of all time, and that's why it's basically on this list and as high as it is. But Amouage Gentleman's Cologne, and I think this is number 10, so I think we're basically in the top 10 now. Or 11, excuse me. Yep, so now this is number 10. So we're going to do number 10. Top 10 I'll count down for you guys. So number 10 is Epic Woman. This took me by surprise. People have been talking about this fragrance for a long time with me, and I've kind of just put it off and put it off. I'm so glad I finally bought a bottle. The perfumers are Cecile Zarokian, Danielle Moriel, Angeline Leperini. So it was a trio of perfumers who worked on this scent. And my God, they hit a home run. Because what this opens up with is this beautiful, gorgeous rose, damask rose with cumin and tea and this pink peppery cinnamony goodness, basically. And then it just goes into the iris and into the oud and into the frankincense. And so it's this mixture of beautiful, relaxing notes. The tea, the rose, the jasmine. This is such a relaxing fragrance, but in an amouage style, if that makes sense. So you get the vanilla, the frankincense. Oh, it's so good. Fantastic, spicy oriental fragrance. Highly recommend this. This is a again, if you're a guy, do not let the fact that this is Epic Woman scare you. This is, I wish I wouldn't have waited as long as I did, but I'm so glad to have a bottle. And 100 ml, you can see next to the 50 ml Fate. I'm glad I got the 100 ml bottle. This is from Moudessir. Thank you, my friend. Okay, so now we're going to do an Alberto Morillas creation, believe it or not. Yes, he's this high in the countdown, number 9. And number 9 is Gucci's A Midnight Stroll. Now, this is a very simple fragrance, okay? There's nothing here that's going to make you jump out of your seat and, you know, do jumping jacks because it's the most original fragrance. This is simplicity, but it's done to perfection. So, and they only list 3 notes. They list cypress, cade juniper wood, and frankincense. And that's it. Those are the only 3 notes listed. But you get this smokiness from the cade. You get this lemony frankincense from the frankincense. And then you get this cypress, which is a heavily underused note in in men's perfumery, to me. Now, this is completely unisex, but there's something about cypress, the cypress note that just reminds me of old school masculines for some reason. But my God, what an incense fragrance they created. I think everything else from the line is probably throw it away. It's not even worth it. But this one, A Midnight Stroll, if you're an incense lover, this is one to smell. Okay, and next, so this is number, this is number 8. And so number 8 is The Moon by Julian Rasquinet. And this is in honor of my brother across the pond, Mr. Rich Mitch, who got a double buy today. Go watch his unboxing of The Moon and The Night. He got both of them, and I'm glad he did. I love this fragrance. The Moon, as a whole, uses that lychee note. No one has used the lychee note as well since Zonka. Since, you know, almost 20 years ago, Bertrand Duchefort used that lychee note. This is lychee and red berries with oud, raspberry, frankincense, and Turkish rose. And so the Turkish rose is very similar to what you get in the Dawn, but this is Turkish rose and incense. This is Turkish rose, incense, lychee, saffron, leather, raspberry. It's more of a true composition, and that's why I love this one more. But again, just picking out the incense note, I love the way that Julian Rasquinet does incense. Absolutely love it. I think he's probably the biggest star as far as Middle Eastern perfumery goes. He overshadowed Dominique Ropion at his own game. So Julian Rasquinet deserves lots of props. And then we're going to go back to back-to-back Bertrand Ducheforts, actually. Number 7 is Jubilation 25 by Amouage. And Jubilation 25, I mean, what can you say about Jubilation 25? It's this honeyed blackberry, labdanum, clove, frankincense, immortelle, apopanax, oud. It has everything. All the ingredients you can think of. Myrrh, cedar, celery seeds, rose, orchid. I mean, it's a masterpiece. But in particular, you can pick out the Divana, the frankincense, the blackberry, the labdanum, all of these little notes that play an important role, you can just check them off the list one by one. Yep, 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 there they are. There they are as you wear this. And it just goes, I mean, it breaks down as if you're reading a book, as if you're reading just a masterpiece. And I mean, you can't describe this to someone who's never smelled it. It's regal. It's probably the best Amouage. It's the one everyone thinks about when they think about Amouage. It was to celebrate the 25th anniversary, but the frankincense here, my God, it's beautiful. The honeyed frankincense is just gorgeous. And then number 6, we're going to go to another Bertrand Duchefort, which is Timbuktu. And yes, this is a newer bottle. I have an older bottle too, but I'm saving it. The newer bottle does the job just fine. It's still, you know, it may not be as detail oriented, but you can still get the picture just fine. That green mango, and again, he does the trick of mixing incense with papyrus and vetiver, and that trio just creates something special. Especially when you blend it with myrrh, benzoin, pink pepper, that kind of stuff. Beautiful creation. Fantastic. Number 6 for a reason, the master, Bertrand Duchefort. One of my favorite vetiver perfumes, too. All right, now we're getting into the big boys. We're in the top 5. Number 5 is Heeley's Cardinal. Now, this is a fantastic incense fragrance. This is mostly incense, actually. This composition is incense and ambergris and, you know, a little bit of myrrh and patchouli and vetiver, and that's pretty much it. Just this smoky, resinous vibe. And what I love about it is it really highlights the aspects of the incense. You know, it really does feel like you're a cardinal in a church somewhere. And as you can see, this is a partial that I bought, but these type of real heavy incense fragrances, I have to be in the mood to wear them, because you know, it is, you can't identify it with anything else other than incense. You know, you're gonna smell like you just burned an incense stick under your clothes. And the last 4 are very incense heavy. This one I've been putting off for a long time. I'm glad I finally got a bottle thanks to Moudessir. I was able to hunt this partial down. And I don't have Avignon, but this is probably the closest thing to Avignon that people compare it to. But this peppery, piney, you know, this pine-like incense vibe, it's here beautifully. And James Heeley did a fantastic job. And I think he's the perfumer as well. Someone quote me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right, number 4 is a Roja Dove, and it is Sultanate of Oman. Now, Sultanate of Oman is Roja's take on a incense fragrance for the Middle East, and specifically for Oman, where they're known for their incense. And here you get elemi and you get frankincense. And so the two mix together beautifully with his patented floral heart. There's also papyrus here. There's all kind of balsams and saffron. There's iris and carrot seed, but it mixes with this. So there's a lot of different smoky notes because you get some oud. I mentioned the papyrus. The frankincense is obviously smoky. The elemi is this piney, you know, elemi is almost like this lemony incense, if you will. And then birch, which birch adds this kind of smoke. Birch is used in Russian leather compositions to add the smokiness. And so there's birch here. So there's lots of different, you get a lot of different aspects from different ingredients. There's even a raspberry note. But I love Sultanate of Oman. If I was going to buy one bottle from this Middle Eastern line that Roja did, it would be Sultanate of Oman. I love Sultanate of Oman. The incense here is beautiful. I'm a huge fan. Now, really quick, that being said, there's tons of different fragrances that use incense that I could have mentioned that I didn't, from houses like Arige Ladore. You know, there is incense in things like War and Peace and Manly and stuff like that. I didn't mention those because I only have these little tiny little vials, but any of the Bortnikoffs that have incense could have been mentioned. So again, now that we're down to the top 3, this is not a comprehensive list. So if you have more that you would like to add, put them in the comments. All right, next we're going to go to a House of Matriarch. This one really could have even been higher, but the last 2 just can't be displaced in my mind. And this is a fragrance called Devotion. And Devotion is a smoky, woody incense with ambrette, apopanax, spices, oud, vanilla, myrrh, and tea. And so just like Epic Woman has this very relaxing tea note and incense, this also has a tea note, but it's more focused on the incense. So this is mostly about the frankincense with ambrette and vanilla and tea, but you still get that relaxing aspect to it. This is like a relaxing incense fragrance, and the House of Matriarch fragrances are not cheap, but this is a fantastic creation. I'm glad to have this little, what do they call these, little 10 ml travel atomizers or whatever. Great way to collect fragrances if you have a big collection. Okay, final 2. Number 2 is Armani's Bois d'Encens, and this is pepper, vetiver, and frankincense, and that's it. Very simple. 2004 this came out. Mr. Armani wanted just a realistic incense, and the problem with realistic incense fragrances is they don't last. So you can either make a fragrance less realistic and last longer, or you can make it to where it's ultra realistic incense and it's gone in 30 minutes. And that's what they went for here, is the ultra realistic incense. You have to reapply every couple hours, basically. It doesn't last, but as far as just a proper, fantastic incense note, Michel Almerac hit it out of the park here. I mean, this is like, you know, this is like a reference incense for the market, because Michel Almerac kept going back to Giorgio Armani with, you know, updates and, you know, reformulations of different versions. And he kept saying, nope, I want the original. I want just the regular first one that we talked about. And that's what they went with. And so if you just want an incense, there is supposedly some labdanum late in the dry down, but you really have to wait hours, and I usually don't wait hours. I usually reapply because I want that, you know, first 30 minutes to an hour that this fragrance gives you. Fantastic incense fragrance, but if you're the kind of person that wants to spray something on at 8 a.m. and have it there at night, this is not it. This will be gone in hours. But one to mention, and it deserves the top 2. Now, my number one incense fragrance is number 1 because it blends, it plays with that line that I was talking about, how you can't have an incense fragrance smell realistic and last a long time. Andy Tower did it. I have no clue how he did it, but I think he did it. He pulled off the coup. He you know, was able to create an incense fragrance that lasts forever and smells very realistic to my nose. And that is Incense Extreme. Now, this is an old bottle. The new bottles don't look like this anymore. They look like this. So I don't know if there's any difference. Maybe the materials were a little bit better in the vintage. I have no clue. I've never smelled the new version, okay? But this is basically coriander, petitgrain, iris, frankincense, ambergris, and this some sort of woodiness in the base, which probably is what adds to the longevity. There's probably some sort of synthetic woody base material. It's so good though. It's perfect for me. And look, there's some little pieces floating in there that almost look like you burn like a incense stick in there or something. But so here we are, 1 hour in. That's my countdown of my favorite incense notes in perfumery, my favorite incense fragrances. Thanks for putting up with listening to like I have a cold, you know. I know you can probably hear it in my voice. So hopefully I'm on the back end of this and things start to get better. But let me know what your thoughts are on this whole countdown idea. It's just something I was playing with. And, you know, I noticed that on my first trial run of this fragrance, this is not a top 10 for Olibanum, for example. I even left out this one. Like, I forgot to grab it. So stuff like that happened, and I figured, what the heck? It's a good idea. People love the rankings. Let me just tell you my thoughts. Obviously, you could ask me tomorrow and things could change, but this is my best countdown as I can give you right now. And, you know, I love seeing your faces in the comments. Please leave a comment below. Do leave a like. And if you haven't subscribed, a subscription does help the channel. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. It helps with the eyeballs. It helps, you know, when someone watches another video and I've got a keyword in there, YouTube will pop me up. You know, it'll help get the channel out and about to the rest of the world that doesn't know about me. And that's kind of what I want. That's why I'm doing this channel, to reach as many people who share our love and passion of the perfume world. And so a like, a subscription, a comment, all that stuff helps. And it is very much appreciated. Obviously, I know you don't have to do all that. So the people who go above and beyond, the ones who actually click the subscribe button, you know, the ones who are always leaving a comment in my video, I really, really appreciate it. It is very much obliged to you guys. So, thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers, guys. Hopefully, I'll see you again tomorrow with another video. Tomorrow, and then Monday might be the last one for a little bit, because I'm going to be out for about a week or so. So we'll see if I can do a video or so from the resort. But until then, cheers, guys. See you again tomorrow.